If you're not an electrician or don't feel comfortable working with electricity, maybe you should call a professional. If you're trying to get an extra plug out of a light switch, like I did in this video, make sure the main power source is coming to this switch. In my video, I had a light and it was a three-way switch. So the power source was going to the other light switch and not the light switch that I wanted to use. So I really couldn't get consistent power. I got started on this already, but what I'm going to do is run another plug in the midsection of the wall, and I'm going to jump off this power. So I got my multi-tool, and I'm going to try to bring the wire all the way down and just jump it through here just so I can glue this back and there's no work at all with pitching or painting. I got lucky. I think I'm going to try to, because this stud under here is elevated, so I can probably just drill a hole down here on this bottom stud and then bring it down without no more extra cutting. So I'm gonna try to do that, and I'll show you how to step by step and wire it up. And so what happened is, see right here, the stud is elevated, so I'm gonna get lucky and I'm gonna drill a hole through this metal stud right here. It's a metal stud, so I'm gonna drill a hole through here, grab it right there, swing it all the way around, and try to drill another hole and bring it up and put the plug in right there. So I got this because I thought it was going to be wood. This is the width of the wire, and I have this, but this isn't the width of the wire. But because it's a metal stud and it's a piece of sheet metal, maybe I can just make it bigger without fraying it and cutting the wire up. Okay, so I kind of messed it up above the line, but that little bit is probably better than patching a hole in the wall. So I'm gonna keep it like this. When I push it all back, he can just glue around everything, you know, and I guess we'll fix that. But what I did was, it was hard getting in there with the drill bit, so I did end up using that drill bit, and that is a 3/8 drill bit, just because I didn't have, this was the biggest one that was in here, the DeWalt. But what I did was I put this on the side, right, like that, on the end, on the side to kind of catch it, and then I just hit it with the hammer, and I got the hole started, and then I used that and I kind of reamed it out just to make the hole bigger. And this is where I am now. But don't just yank it through, slowly feed it through, because the metal stud on the side is pointy and you don't want to risk cutting this open. But because this is all open under here, I can just run it under here perfectly, and then I can just do the same thing over there and come up, cut my hole for the box, put the box in. And I'm going to use this box right here just so I can have it on drywall. You don't have to screw it in a stud. This is good box for when the drywall is all the way up for this purpose. Okay, so the next step is when you feed it through, you're going to want to have enough line to go through here and come out here. So what I did was I measured it and I drew a line right there just so I know how far I should feed it. So I fed all the wire through to that line right there. That way I can do that later. I gotta turn off the power to do that. And I brought the line all the way over. now. And so what it is it's 16 inches from the bottom. So the bottom of the box is going to be 16 inches. So the whole box is going to come up here. That's going to be the plug. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to see where the studs are. That way I'm not doing it on a stud. I can do it between the studs. And I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to dig this out. Knock a hole through it with the screwdriver. And then kind of ream the hole out and bring it up through here, bring it up through the box with the box in, poke the hole in. I'll show you when I get that far. So what I did here was I put the box up like this and I marked 4 corners. I marked the 4 corners right here. You can see on the box where it's black. Right there. All 4 corners. And then I kind of straightened it out with this. So I'm gonna cut that out. And then I'm gonna cut this out. And then I'm gonna feed the wire through. So just checking to see if it fit perfectly, and look what happened. Fits perfectly. Use the level to make it nice. But before I wanna put it in, I wanna knock one of these out, just so I can feed my wire through. So some are harder than others, but you want to knock one out, feed your wire through. But first I'm going to make a notch for this. So I'm going to cut this like right there, just so he can have room to glue the top of it. And I'll show you. So if you can see that in there like this, is a steel stud. So what I do first is I stick this in and see where it lands without messing anything up. And then I'll probably get my marker in there and mark it. That way I can punch a hole in it with this just to get it started. So, and then once I get it started, it would be easier to catch it with this, and then I'll kind of ream it out, and then I'll feed the wire through. All right, so this stud was steel. So what I did was I took a smaller one. I don't think you would have had to, but I did it anyway. Made a hole through here. And then I took the biggest one and made a bigger hole. And I kind of used what was on top to kind of wedge it and push it down so I can make a hole here, if you can see that hole. But there's a hole in the bottom now, right here. You can see my finger. And I'm gonna carefully feed the wire through, because it's sharp right here. I don't wanna rip it, the sheathing, because then that would break it. And that would break the fuse and everything. So be careful, feed it through. And then everything's going to be done. I'll feed it through the box, wire it up. So it's in here. That part goes up here. And then it runs down here, under here. I got lucky. I could save myself some money because I don't have to cut that. So I'll check that out. Sometimes you get lucky. But right here, now carefully feed it through, and then I'll put it through the box. So there you go. Put it through the hole, and the other side looks like that. Through that, like this, through this, and then I'm gonna kind of keep some slack in the wall just in case this ever burns out on him. But what I would do is screw this up. And as I'm screwing it, the tab will lift up and it would stay in the wall and be flush. So I'll cut this to length and then I'll wire up the plug. So after running it through and tightening up the screws so the thing tightens, it's pretty straightforward after this. See right here to say hot, and the black wire always goes to hot and the white wire always goes to neutral. And then you got green, but make sure you pigtail it
the way you're tightening it, just so it doesn't come unraveled, and you ensure a nice snug electric tighten. So I'm going to finish that and I'll move on to the switch. I still got to run the wire up the wall and turn off the power, then connect it to the main power, then put the main plate on, and then it's done. I'm using this tool right here, Pittsburgh, and it's nice because this is 14 gauge wire, so it says it, 14 gauge wire. This is the stripper part. It's a little piece of pliers, and this is the hole. So I stick it in a hole, right here. I stick it through the hole, and then I'll kind of bend it, and that's how I'll pigtail it. But I'll do it this way, that way I can pigtail it that way. And then, so that's a pigtail. And then I'll put it in here like that, the way I pigtail it. And then I'll tighten it down. So I'll cut the power, and I got lucky because there's insulation behind this wall. So what'll happen is, don't be too frisky with this because you don't want to break anything. Just kind of open it up, feed it through, and it went along the back side of the wall, and that's where it came out. And I kind of stuck this screwdriver in to kind of rig it out. And what I'm going to do is, I got some electrical tape, and I'm going to tape it up real nice right here. Real nice to kind of, I'll show you after I tape it up, but I'm probably going to come all the way down to here and go all the way up to here, just so it's smooth and it will run along and it won't catch on anything. So see, the middle is right here, the middle. And the better you have it wrapped, the less likely it's going to come apart inside of the wall too, and you have to do it over again, and it was a pain. This got lucky, I was easy, you know, but sometimes you have to wiggle at it and get past the insulation, and it's a pain in the butt to do it again and again, and the second time might not be that easy for me, so I do it right the first time. And now I'm just going to kind of pull on this, and see, this is metal. So what this is it's a Klein Tools, and this is a 25 foot. So, and this is steel, so it doesn't bend as easy as the copper in this line right here. So I'm going to wiggle it out, then I'm going to wire it up, and then I'll keep you posted on that. So what I did was, I disconnected the neutral and the black and the ground. So I have black to black to black. So I'm going to connect it all to this wire, because that's going to have power. The reason for the switch is to cut it off here. It cuts it off here, and once that connects to that, it has power. That's the reason for that. So this always has power, and that's what cuts the power off to power this light right here. So thing is, I'm going to do that. I'm going to connect it to the plug. That way the plug always has power. And then I'm going to connect these, pigtail them to this. That way it'll act like nothing ever happened. And I'll show you how that's done. You always do black to black, white to white, ground to ground. And I'm going to wire these in here, so then I'll have these as that, which was in there. But now you have a plug, which is right there, and you have your switch.